by our beloved BBC. Incredible.
Yeah.
And so he started boxing at 12, and at 18 years old, he won the gold.
You know, he stayed out of prison while appealing the decision to the Supreme Court, where his conviction was overturned in 1971. But
Hi guys, and welcome back to Fighters Talk TV. And today it's boxing histories with my good pal Max. How you doing?
I'm all good. I'm all good.
And today we're going to talk about the legend Muhammad Ali.
Yes.
So we know that it's one of our favourite subjects. So I'm going to start myself, and then you can chirp in whenever you're ready, mate.
Yeah.
Here we go. So Muhammad Ali, he was actually born Cassius Marcellus Clay Jr. on the January 17th, 1942, and sadly passed away on June 3rd of 2016. He was an American professional boxer, but more important than that, he was an activist. His nickname was The Greatest. He's regarded as one of the most significant sports figures of the 20th century, and he's often regarded as the greatest heavyweight boxer of all time. He held the Ring Magazine heavyweight title from 1964 to 1970. He was the undisputed champion from 74 to 78, and the WBA and Ring heavyweight champion from 78 to 79. And in 1999, he was named Sportsman of the Century by Sports Illustrated and Sports Personality of the Century by our beloved BBC. Incredible.
Yeah. Listen, he's just an incredible man. He's an interesting man as well, like outside the ring, inside the ring. You know, what he's done for the sporting world is phenomenal.
That's it. And he started boxing at just 12 years old. And as a result of what?
He got his bike stolen. And he went to the police and went, "Father, nicked my bike." You know, and if it wasn't for that incident, he wouldn't have been a boxer.
So it's where you say crime pays, right? Even if you're the victim of it in this particular case.
They pay for him. Obviously, as we all know him, he was the greatest. I'll say he's the original GOAT.
Absolutely, greatest of all time. And so he started boxing at 12, and at 18 years old, he won the gold medal in the light heavyweight division of the 1960 Summer Olympics. 6 years later, he turned professional later that year, and he became a Muslim after about 1961, which is where he would probably tell you, should he be alive today, where his greatest achievements were, not what was in the ring. He won the Heavyweight World Championship. He beat Sonny Liston in a major upset in February 25, or the 25th of February, in 1964. He was only 22, so it was such a young champion. And he also denounced his birth name because he said it was a slave name. So from Cassius Clay, he then became Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, because obviously in '66 he refused to be drafted into the military.
Yeah.
Owing his religious beliefs and ethical opposition to the Vietnam War, which I don't blame him. Who wants to go to war? You know.
Well, especially if you don't believe, if you're religious people who don't believe in death and murder, which is essentially what war is. So you can certainly, you can certainly agree and sort of go with that, can't you?
They found him guilty of draft evasion and stripped him of his boxing titles. You know, he stayed out of prison while appealing the decision to the Supreme Court, where his conviction was overturned in 1971. But like you're saying, if he wasn't Muhammad Ali or Cassius Clay, a phenomenal boxer, would he got that decision overturned by the Supreme Court?
Well, I guess that's one sort of thing we're never actually going to know, sadly, and it's but ultimately I'd like to think he wouldn't, but I think that his status did that, but that more importantly made it better for the world, didn't it? Really.
Yeah.
It really, really did, and he's been in. Let's go back to what made him famous in the first place, his boxing. Look at some of the fights that he had.
Yeah. Well,
Thriller in Manila, Rumble in the Jungle, even against our own Henry Cooper, who was the first man to put him on his backside.
Yeah,
some great
he was.
fights.
And I'm pretty sure Cooper broke Ali's jaw in that fight, and he fought several rounds with a broken jaw and still won. You know, I'm sure. I'll have to look into that, but I'm pretty sure Cooper broke his jaw.
And he's got a great boxing record. 61 fights, 56 wins, 37 KOs.
Yeah.
And and 5 defeats. But I want, he was probably, along with Tyson, if you lose as a fighter, your career isn't over. The media these days are so quick to say that's the end of him. He's lost a few fights.
Yeah, but I think that does have some fighters, but not everyone.
It's about their heart, and he had great heart from start. And I think his activist type of life probably was where his heart was, and the boxing, was a great second to that, and he sort of pushed it all into that, really.
Yeah, because he was very famous for his trash talking, wasn't he?
Oh, wasn't he just? And I think was it Joe Frazier? He pulled a gun out on him. He got on his nerves that much. A fake gun, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And he ran away. So, I thought he did that. But also some of the other things, that he's had to face. He was a part of a secret operation called Codename Minaret from the National Security Agency, intercepted communications of leading Americans, including Senators Frank Church, Howard Baker, Dr. Martin Luther King, and Muhammad Ali. Incredible that he's being spied on by his own government. And of course, in March 1966, he refused to be inducted into the armed forces. He was systematically denied his boxing license in every state, stripped of his passport. He didn't fight for nearly 4 years of his prime years as well. And, he worked away through loads and loads of appeals, and then he comes back and wins another world title.
Yeah, it's just amazing what he done for the boxing and how he fought as well. He didn't fight no muggy people, pretty much say more than half of his fights he had were against top-notch people. They were, Joe Frazier, Sonny Liston, Ken Norton, Henry Cooper, Joe Frazier, big man George Foreman. The list goes on and on and on. They weren't muggy people. No,
so. and he really sort of did a number of them. The Doper Rope, the Ali Shuffle, a great showman. You talk to most professional boxers today. We have them in the studio and we say, who do you want to be on our Legends Wall? If you could step out and be someone else, who would you be? 99 times out of 100, it's going to be Ali, isn't it? Everybody says the same thing. Often imitated, never replicated. Do you know what I mean? That's exactly how it is. But let's talk a bit about his personal life, because I like to get down to the nitty gritty, right? Really do. Did you know? I bet you don't, but I'm going to tell you now that Muhammad Ali was married not once, twice, 3 times, but actually 4 times. Yeah, 4 times. He's got 7 daughters and 2 sons. Crikey. No wonder he had to stay in the fight game, pay for all that.
Innit?
Jeepers, Oh, Tiller. It's absolutely crazy how it went on. So, yeah, he sort of he fell in love more times than Starsky and Hutch, didn't he? He held a second record of James Bond. We're not going to go over all his children and his wife. Obviously, we know daughter Layla Ali. She became a boxer, and also now his grandson is a boxer. So his legacy is certainly moving on, and he became affiliated. Talking about his sort of with the Nation of Islam and things like that. So it was a guy who stood up for what he believed in.
Yeah, I'm just reading here about Ali was strongly affected by the murder of Emmett Till. Right, which led to the young Clay and a friend taking out their frustration by vandalising a local rail yard. And he, in a letter he wrote to his daughter, he once told her, "Nothing would ever shake me up more than the story of Emmett Till." Because he was murdered in 1955. It must have been someone who meant a lot to him for him to take that to his grave, still haunted by it.
Well, I think as well, you have to look at his legacy, and his legacy outside of the ring, he would tell you, is probably bigger than his legacy inside of the ring. He believed in that.
Yeah.
He was a very honourable man and fought for what he believed in, and he fought peacefully for what he believed in. I'm not an avid fan of war. War doesn't do anything other than money, and this is what. Let me show you what war's about. This is what it's about. The Benjamins. This is all war is about. Okay. Yeah. Old men start it, Young men fight it. Everyone in the middle dies. Nobody tells the truth, and it costs billions of this stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so I totally understand, totally respect it. Where it comes, it's not just the bombs that cost billions, it's the rebuilding that costs billions, and it costs the globe billions. So totally agree with him.
People who cause the wars get off scot-free.
Oh yeah, and they're often or not the benefactors of it. So yeah, he did a bit of acting as well, didn't he? And spoken word and poetry and rap music. He had it all. He really did have it all, and he was involved in professional wrestling at his time, so nobody can sit there and crucify Tyson Fury for the same, because it was incredible, really. He was preferring with the legendary Inoki, okay, which is Gorilla Monsoon, if you remember him from WWE. He was one of the ring announcers when we were younger, so it was actually the Worldwide Federation then, but so he even got in that. He's done lots of TV appearances. Parkinson, he was on 3 or 4 times. This Is Your Life. He was on Different Strokes. Remember him?
Yeah.
What you talking about, Willis? One of my favourite shows. Great it was. And he was a philanthropist, a humanitarian, even sort of really political towards the end. I think when you talk about it, he just left such a legacy in everything he touched, this man, and everybody looks up to him, he and of course even later on in life when he got Parkinson's.
Yeah, because obviously, I'm just going back to the war, he was saying, as he stated, war is against the teachings of the Quran, right? The Quran. I'm not trying to dodge the draft. We don't take part in that sort of stuff, you know what I mean? Like, we're not supposed to take part in no wars unless it's declared by Allah or the Messenger. We don't take part in Christian wars.
Well,
That's why he didn't want to go into it.
Well, I don't poo-poo anybody's religion. I'm an atheist, as you probably know. But, I don't poo-poo anyone's religion. You believe in what you believe. But, at the end of the day, I totally agree. I mean, war is nothing. I've said it a million times. It's just about money. But talk about his earnings. I mean, that's something that people don't know. By 1978, Ali's total fight person earnings, they reckon, are estimated to be around 60 million. That's in 1970. So in today's terms, that's about $365 million. Right? It's incredible. Really, really incredible. And of course, he had a run-in with the legendary boxing promoter,
Don King.
So go on and tell the folks at home what happened there.
Well, he was owed millions by him, wasn't he? And then all of a sudden, Don King drafted in Ali's mate with a letter and a briefcase with $50,000 in it, and Ali accepted it. What the hell was in that letter? For him to accept that and not the millions he was owed.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, he was diagnosed with Parkinson's syndrome, and obviously it led to decline in his health. Okay, though he was actually still active until sort of the early 2000s, promoting his own biopic Ali, which we've seen. Really, really good. I enjoyed that. He also worked a lot with Michael J. Fox because he's got Parkinson's as well, hasn't he? To sort of raise awareness about what's going on with the disease, and and obviously eventually he lost his voice and everything else. So sadly, of course, on June 2nd, 2016, he was hospitalised in Scottsdale, Arizona. His condition was initially it was described as fair, but it worsened overnight, and he sadly passed away the next day on June 3rd, 2016. At the ripe old age of 74 from septic shock, so blood poisoning essentially. And there was such a massive outcry. Specials were being done for ESPN, ABC News, BBC, CNN, Fox, even the UFC, did something. and he had so many people, leading the tributes and in grief. Politicians like Barack Obama was sort of really open about it. One of the best politicians in the United States history, Barack Obama. Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, our own David Cameron as well. Massive tributes from around the sporting world. Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, Floyd Mayweather, Mike Tyson. LeBron James, Steph. I mean, the list goes on and on and on.
I just found something interesting here. Did you know in 1990 Ali actually travelled to Iraq when the Gulf War was on and met up with Saddam Hussein in an attempt to negotiate the release of American hostages? Did you know that?
I didn't know. But these are the things that people don't know about this wonderful, wonderful man, you know.
Yeah. Ali secured the release of hostages in exchange for promising Hussein that he would bring America an honest account of Iraq. Despite arranging the hostages release, he received criticism from President George H.W. Bush and Joseph C. Wilson, the highest ranking American diplomat in Baghdad. You know
guys,
what I mean?
if you're wondering what that nice little tune that you heard being played there, it's Max's washing machine. So, I mean, let's talk about his legacy, okay? Ali remains one of only, the only 3-time lineal heavyweight champion. He's the only boxer to be named the Ring Magazine Fighter of the Year 6 times, and was involved in more ring Fight of the Year bouts than any other fighter in history. He was one of only 3 boxers to be named Sportsman of the Year by Sports Illustrated, and he was inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame in its first year. I mean, he has an incredible legacy. There's no doubts about it.
Oh, he has. I'm just leaving boxing now. I just want to go back to the 1996 Summer Olympics in Atlanta when he lit the flame. Did you know that was watched by 3.5 billion people?
I want to put a caveat in there. Allegedly, right? Allegedly.
Well, they say,
I mean, it's not like they've gone round and gone 1, 2, 3.
So it was estimated at 3.5 billion people. You know, even if that's half that, it's still amazing.
It's incredible, isn't it? Incredible.
No.
So he left, guys and girls, he left an absolutely amazing legacy in and out of the ring. He stood up for what he believed in. He fought governments. He fought everybody. It wasn't just about that. He believed in people, and that's one of what makes him great. And I think if you were to talk to Ali today, what were your biggest achievements was it inside or outside of the ring? I think he would probably say outside of the ring. A family guy, lots of children, which was obviously his pleasure, and and his legacy will live on forever, I believe, especially in the boxing world.
Yeah,
and guys,
definitely.
if you do get the chance, just to finish, if you ever get the chance to visit Muhammad Ali's memorial, it reads something on there that's quite touching. It says, Ali, service to others is the rent you pay for your room in heaven. And all we say to him is, may you rest in peace, and see you on the other side, champ.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, thanks very much for joining us today here at Fighters Talk TV Boxing History. It's been an absolute pleasure. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, retweet, and everything else. Tag your friend in it. And the more tags you make, the more chances you've got to win of one of our $50 prizes that we'll be giving away every month. So once again, from both Mad Max and Andy Tubbs, myself, we'll speak to you very, very soon, and join us again soon. Bosh!